Personally, I don't think anyone owned the 1970s like any other era. If you want to think about it, the 60s was the Bill Russell versus Wilt era, the 80s was the Larry and Magic era, the 90s was the Jordan era, 2000s was Kobe and Tim era, 2010s was LeBron and Curry era, and now we're in the 2020s and we got Giannis, Jokic, Curry again. It's a very interesting era, and this one might be the most diverse era aside from the 1970s. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be talking about legendary players such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Walton, Magic Johnson, but what truly set this decade apart was the unparalleled parity among teams, resulting in unforgettable moments, rivalries, and iconic championships. The 1970s definitely showcased some of the greatest individual talents. These players not only dominated the regular season, but also etched their names into history as NBA Finals MVPs and champions. So let's start at 1970-1971 NBA season. We got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar winning the MVP, and he led the Milwaukee Bucks to their first NBA championship. The 1970 season witnessed Kareem's magnificent dominance as he secured the MVP award. With averages of 31.7, 16 rebounds, and 3.3 blocks per game during the regular season, Kareem carried his brilliance into the playoffs, averaging 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 3.6 blocks per game in the playoffs as he led the Milwaukee Bucks to their first NBA championship. Now, let's talk about Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West, mostly Jerry West, I cannot lie, the mighty Wilt secured his MVP during the remarkable regular season, which included a slathery 14.8 points, 19.2 rebounds, and 4.8 assists per game in the playoffs. Wilt continued his excellence with averages in the playoffs of 14.3 points, 18.6 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game. As you can tell, his points went a little bit down in the playoffs. He had a slight decrease, but his leadership helped the Los Angeles Lakers reclaim the first championship since 1969. Now let's get on to a very interesting fellow, Willis Reed. Willis Reed won the MVP and he led New York to their second NBA championship in 3 years. The 1972-73 season saw Willis Reed's triumphant MVP campaign. Reed's regular season's brilliance translated to the playoffs, where he led New York with 12 points and 8.6 rebounds per game. But he definitely put up some crazy final MVP averages, and he helped win them the championship with 16.4 points, 9.2 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and a 49.3 field goal percentage. Now let's move on to a very forgotten character in NBA history. Many Celtics fans know his name, but we're talking about Dave Cowens and his MVP winning performance. During the regular season, Cowens averaged 20.5 points and 16.2 rebounds per game. In the playoffs, he continued his stellar play, guiding the Boston Celtics to their 11th championship. Now let's move on to one of the most legendary players of all time, a forgotten legend, a forgotten inspiration for rebounding and shooting and for especially the free throw. Let's talk about the legend himself, Rick Barry. Rick Barry and the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, won their first ever NBA championship. Also, Rick won the MVP. His scoring prowess was on full display as he averaged an impressive 29.5 points per game in the regular season and 35.6 points per game in the playoffs. His leadership guided the Golden State Warriors to their first ever championship. Now, let's talk about another forgotten figure, JoJo White. JoJo the Shooter. He won MVP and he led Boston to their 12th NBA championship. In the 1975-76 season, JoJo White MVP performance was a key factor in the Boston Celtics' 12th NBA championship. White averaged 21.7 points and 5.8 assists per game in the playoffs, solidifying his status as a Celtics legend. Now, I'm going to take a brief second to thank you guys for watching the video, and make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're enjoying it, or let me know what is your favorite NBA team, and if they won a championship in 1970. Now, if this video gets at least 10 likes, I will cover the ABA of the 1970s, which talks about Dr. J, Wes Unseld, a lot of players that you may have not heard of that might have also played in the NBA. Definitely players such as Dan Issel and my hometown, the Kentucky Colonels. But let's move on to Big Red. Big Red, 1976 to 1977. We got Bill Walton. He won the MVP and he led Portland to their first ever NBA championship. You know, he not only secured the regular season MVP, but he led Portland to their first ever NBA championship in the playoffs. Walton's averages was 18.5 points, 15 rebounds, and 5.2 assists, 2.2 blocks per game. That man is a legend. He had a legendary season. But let's move on to another great. We got Wes Unseld. Wes Unseld won the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, and he took the Washington Bullets to their first NBA championship. It was brilliant. You know, his leadership was instrumental in the guiding of the Washington Bullets to their first NBA championship, alongside Elvin Hayes, of course. Now let's move on to a very interesting time in NBA history, let's talk about a team that is quite forgotten. The Seattle Supersonics winning their first title, and I believe only title in NBA history, because their franchise is no longer around. We're talking about the late, great Dennis Johnson. You know, he was a crazy man with the MVP worthy performance as he paved the way for the Seattle Supersonics to capture their second NBA championship. Let me correct myself. Johnson's contributions included averages of 19.2 points, 4.6 assists, 3.2 steals per game in the playoffs. Now, we're leading to the end of the video and beginning of the great Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson won MVP and he led the Los Angeles Lakers to their 12th NBA championship. We saw the rise of Magic Johnson. Not only did he win the MVP, but he also played a pivotal role in the Los Angeles Lakers' 12th NBA championship. He also played center whenever Kareem was injured, but he averaged 21.5 points, 11.2 assists, 7.7 rebounds per game in the playoffs, solidifying his status as one of the greatest of all time. Now, this is a very awesome part, golden era, if you will, for the league, defined by unparalleled parity, iconic players, and unforgettable moments, with its legacy of remarkable individual talent and fiercely competitive teams. The 1970s NBA remains a cherished chapter in the history of basketball, considered by many as one of the greatest decades in NBA history. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to let me know if you learned something new today and what is your favorite NBA team. And as I said before, if this video gets 10 likes, I will cover the ABA of the 1970s. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace